Hey! Today I want to show you my 20 plus best upgrades I did to my Fiido D4s scooter e-bike this year. I will put everything I bought in the description and also timestamps so you can quickly jump to what you're most interested in. Why do I say scooter e-bike? Because Chinese e-bikes are very much like scooters. They also have a throttle. So everything I show you here should work more or less on all e-scooters and e-bikes. My girlfriend has a scooter, for example, because an e-bike is too heavy for her. Which scooter or bike do you have? Please post in the comments. Please also check out my blog, because I cannot explain everything in detail here. The bike is an absolute dream now, but I also made lots of mistakes and I also want to show you that. So please leave a like and subscribe to my channel when you appreciate that. The bike bell was the first thing I updated because to the horn not all people react. And also the bell was the first thing that broke on the scooter. I tried other models but only this one worked because the lever is straight and also it's full metal so it should not break. Because I used this throttle a lot, I got a sore wrist. So I wanted to try a thumb throttle. And I simply use this Throttle Boss. It's nice because now I can switch between thumb and wrist. I get neck problems when I'm turning, for example to see if my girlfriend is still behind me. So I bought this cheap mirror from Decathlon. It can be mounted on both sides and also upside down. I like upside down because then I have more space for my hands. Be careful that your bike does not fall because then you can destroy it. There's a similar model from M-Wave, I will link it below. There's also a top mounted one, but I don't have enough space. And my girlfriend also likes to use it as a cosmetic mirror, which is nice of course. The problem with the stock grips is that they start to rotate. That's why I bought these Ergonomic Grips. They have screws. Actually, they are copies of the Ergon grips. You need to buy left long and right short. Only disadvantage is that the rubber gets sticky after some years, especially in summer. But it's the same with the original Ergon grips. Because the handlebar is not so wide, I bought a phone holder that doesn't need so much space. I also wanted to buy an aluminum model, but then it's important that you use a phone with a cover or otherwise you could scratch it. I also put some tubing here because otherwise this phone holder can rattle when it's empty. And because I have a new display, I can also charge it via USB. I did not yet upgrade the handlebar because I appreciate that it makes the scooter bike compact when it's folded, but I think about upgrading to the XLC HBC03. The Ergonomic Grips makes driving already much more stable. Now about my bags. Here I have a Lowrider, here I have a scooter bag from Wildman, here I have a rear rack, and here I have the Burley Travoy bicycle trailer. This is the scooter bag. I use it to store my extra battery. It's the 2-liter version and as you can see it's a very snug fit. There is also a larger version like 3 liters and it's more easy to fit a larger battery inside. But be careful that you then cannot put the seat post low enough for a smaller person. I had lots of problems ordering from AliExpress. The seller asked me for more money after I had already paid and then it never arrived. I will have to ask for a refund. I ended up buying on Amazon. This is the Lowrider from XLC. Actually it's very practical for 20-inch foldable bikes because I have enough clearance for my feet. Also I can quickly take something out. You just have to tighten the screws very well because otherwise this can start to rotate. But you could add a bridge, but then it gets heavier of course. This is the rack from Decathlon. I had to move it all the way to the back and also the panniers so that I don't touch the bags with my heels while pedaling. Also on the side with the brake disc I had to use longer screws so I have enough clearance for the brake calipers. I will link to a more universal rack. Actually, I think about removing this rack because it weighs 1 kilogram and instead just use the Lowrider. It's just 300 grams. I also like to use my burly travois. For example, today for hauling my camera equipment, it's perfect for a 20-inch foldable e-bike because there's a lot of clearance for the tow arm, which can be a problem with other bikes. I will link to my review up here. I have the M-Wave Mudguards. They are very quick to remove, which is nice. Unfortunately, I had to remove them in the front because I put larger balloon tires, but I will cut them so they don't go under the fork. I use a KT controller, it's inside here now, this is the old controller. The KT controller is a very common controller. My main goal was to increase the torque, so to have a faster acceleration. I could also go faster when connecting a 48 volts battery, then I could go like 50 km per hour. But this bike is not really meant for these kind of speeds. I have the 10 ampere version, but it was a very tight fit. I will also link to the 8 ampere version below. This is better when you want to go 48 volts. The most difficulties I had is crimping the connectors. Many people just solder everything, but my controller is plug and play now, and this was already useful because I needed to change it recently because I killed my old controller when trying out 48 volts. Check out my blog post for more details. For the KT controller, I needed to buy another display. I bought a smaller one because it's less conspicuous. It has a USB port for charging my phone. I now have better pedal assist, a walking mode, cruise control, 48 volts support, and the display shows the volts. Higher volts means the bike is faster. I bought the battery. Litho color like I'm having here is a very common choice, but I recently discovered Small 10. They give a more honest capacity, have factory direct sales, customer customization and good reviews. They have a battery exactly the size of the internal battery of my bike. I will link it below. For a scooter, you could mount it in the front, for example. In my first version, I just extended the power cables for the controller and for the internal batteries so that they are outside of the bike, so I can unplug the controller and plug in the extra battery. For the second version, I 3D printed a small black box so I can switch from the internal battery to the external battery without unplugging any cables. I first created a model made of cardboard, but I still had to print a lot of versions because it did not fit. I also put an alarm and a GPS device. This gives me peace of mind when I go to a supermarket or to a cafe. It works very well, almost too well. It detects any shock. I connected mine to the internal battery. I will also put a link to an alarm that uses an extra battery. Having a GPS tracker is a must if you have a more expensive scooter e-bike, especially for me with all the updates I have done. I have the one from Sinotrack. I also put it here inside. I also hit a Samsung SmartTag. You can also use an Apple AirTag, of course. This is much easier to set up than a GPS tracker. But it only shows the position when a Samsung or Apple iPhone respectively is or was nearby. The Fiido D4s has just 7 gears. When I unlocked the 35 km per hour I had to pedal very fast, so I changed to a bigger chainring from Light Pro. It is also recommended to change to a longer chain. Anyways, it's a big advantage now, also when I'm going downhill, because I can actually pedal. It's still not like having 27 gears, so another update would be to change the shifter, the rear derailleur and the flywheel. Links to everything in the description. Ordering the chainring was a nightmare, because first they sent me the wrong chainring, and then DPD said it was delivered but nobody ringed and the mailbox was empty, and I did not get a refund, so I had to order again and again, and as you know, this takes a lot of time from China. The scooter bike is kind of bulky to carry when it's folded, so I bought this Rhino Walk bag for public transport. I bought the 20-inch version for foldable e-bikes, but should have bought the 26-inch version because my bike was a tight fit. I will also link to a version for scooters. I bought the Fiido D4s because it's relatively lightweight for an e-bike. This is because there's no front or rear suspension and this makes for a rough ride, especially on mid to long distance routes. So I bought the Schwalbe Big Bang Plus balloon tires. When inflated to just 2 bars, it converts the bike almost into a fat bike. The installation in the front is very easy. In the back it was more difficult because of the motor cable. Maybe your bike has no hub motor or you can unplug the motor, then it's easier. Also, as I said, I had to remove the front mudguard, but the tire still fits into the frame perfectly. If you want to have less rolling resistance, I also linked to the Schwalbe Marathon Plus in the description. The Schwalbe tires have a reflective strip which is nice and the Plus are rated until 50 km/h. I will still link to a seat post suspension and a suspension fork in the description. Just be careful that you buy a seat post that is long enough for your height. The kickstand was always a problem because it was mounted here in the center, and when I was moving the bike backwards, the pedals always hit the kickstand, so it finally broke. Also the kickstand was hitting the brake disc when I was folding it, so I bought a new kickstand that I can mount here in the rear. Just make sure that you really put it as much as possible to the back so you don't hit it when you are pedaling. The brakes I did not change yet, they work and stop the bike, but on these cheap bikes they are usually not good, very squeaky, so I think about changing them to Shimano brakes. Just be careful when you also want to change the brake levers, that they have a switch inside to cut the motor when it's engaged because of the pedal assist. Okay, I hope this was a little bit of an inspiration. Links to everything I bought in the video description, and please don't forget to check out my blog because there I have described everything in detail, and to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to post in the comments. So until then, enjoy pimping your scooter e-bike. See you next time. Bye.